We did it, friends. We got the approval from the Conservation Commission. I submitted the paperwork. I went to the hearing this past week. They asked me to explain my project. I went on a 5-minute monologue about everything I was doing to protect the neighboring wetland, and they approved. Couple things that really helped me out. First, I was able to submit a request for determination of applicability, not a notice of intent. So an RDA is basically like a mini NOI. It's a request to the Conservation Commission that says, is this project creating such a small amount of impact that they don't need a full notice of intent submitted? And the Conservation Commission will either say, yes, it's a small impact, just do these few things while you're working and it's fine. Or, nope, there's a big deal and you must submit a notice of intent. Which, fun fact, when they approved me with a -3, which sounded bad. But a -3 means I don't need a notice of intent. It's very clear. A request for determination of applicability is a lot easier to apply for. I did it myself with some tips I'll share in a second. But an NOI, on the other hand, is a lot more paperwork and a lot more requirements. We received quotes from 2 engineers that it was $5,000 and up to prep and submit the paperwork for us. You see, the Conservation Commission's job is to protect the wetlands, so it's very important that you can demonstrate you're taking all the precautions necessary to keep that risk to the wetland to an absolute minimum anytime you're doing work within that 100-foot buffer zone. For us, that was rotating the design to point away from the wetland so that we were only just barely crossing that 100-foot buffer zone. Go check out the rotated video. I'll link in the description if you want to read more about that. The second one was putting silt socks along the 50-foot buffer zone. So those will catch any soil trying to wash down into the wetland. The third one was indicating that any piles of soil during excavation will be placed outside the 100-foot buffer zone, tarped nightly with its own silt socks in case of rain. And the fourth one was any trenching for plumbing will be backfilled and replaced with native, wildlife-friendly vegetation planted on top. Also, when you fill out the RDA, you also need to fill out a section where you show in the Wetland Protection Act where it states that you're exempt from an NOI. And there are a few provisions that allow for it. For us, that was on 10.02, subsection B, paragraph 2, subsection E, which at the time of writing is on the 6th page of the PDF with the header activities within the buffer zone. There's a paragraph, the following minor activities are not otherwise subject to regulation. The important one for us was the conversion of lawn to uses accessory to residential structures, such as decks, sheds, patios, pools, etc. I'll throw the rest on the screen with a link to the whole thing if you want to read for yourself. But for our project, we aren't removing trees. It's just grass in our backyard that will be disturbed, which meant that we're exempt from needing an NOI. Coupled with all the protections that we're going to put in place, we were approved. For those who know my wife and I well, this wasn't some nefarious, like, how can we do the absolute bare minimum to save a buck? You know, we're both very environmentally conscious people, which is why we even rotated the design before even submitting the RDA. So if you're thinking about submitting an RDA for yourself, be honest about what you're doing, and the Conservation Commission may approve with just some additional protections. So that's our big exciting news for this week. We have the pricing call and the Zoning Board of Appeals hearing to get the building itself approved all within the next week. And then effectively we can start digging. A little bit stressed, but we'll get there. Until then, take care, friends.